Hey everyone, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop. So we're finally back at it a little bit. I want to start off by apologizing. It's been so long since I've had a video. I've been up to three things. One, working a lot. I mean a lot. And that has cut into my time at home. But got to make hay while we can. Two, while I have been off, it's summertime. And unfortunately, I have a major project on the front of my house that has to be addressed. We have steps that go up to this front deck, and the wood, some of you appreciate this, the wood's in fine shape, it's nice and strong, but whoever built the deck last used screws that are just regular metal, I guess. They rusted, and where they rusted, that wood has rotted and it's falling apart. So I have nice solid strong boards, and then where they connect there's nothing, and it would be bad if a person fell through, including me. So unfortunately I've had to spend my time off working on that, and it's a big area and it's been a thing. So there's that. Third thing I've been doing, the last video I put out was the Duchess of Kingston. It's right over there. For those of you over on Patreon, you got to see that. We're over a big hump there, and so I hope to be able to make some serious progress on that build soon. All right, so for today in the Enterprise, we're going to go ahead and get the main hangar deck installed and paint it up 99% of the way. I'm not totally sold on the finish that I've done. And then we're going to go ahead and put together, mostly out of the box, one of the main structures in the middle of the ship that goes right underneath the main island, the superstructure that goes on top. And that's all I really have time for, unfortunately. But there's a lot of context, a lot of content, a lot of thoughts and opinions. And so anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, put a comment down below. As we move into the winter time, I'll be able to pick up, of course. Thank you to everyone over on Patreon who's been patient and watching along on that video build. I have a lot more things planned down the road for the whole channel, not just on Patreon. And I'm hoping that that all happens this fall and everything. So anyway, feel free to click the bell icon for notices and all that stuff. That's it. Thanks for watching. Let's get into the build. Okay, we're back in action on Enterprise here, and as you can see, I've got some stuff masked off. This is our deck blue. This is an exterior. What we have here is the hangar deck area. And I was like, well, what color am I going to paint? You can see here, this is like a lighter gray, and then this is the kit gray, because I threw this piece on, our forward bow piece. It's glued into position. And I painted this, and I thought, well, that looks nice. It's a nice interior. But then I was looking up online, and because some people said, well, it was painted white. Turns out, because of fires, they were ordered to strip all interior paint from compartments because it was extremely flammable. And so if a bomb went off, things would catch on fire. So the deck would have been steel. And I have AK steel right here. This stuff is really, really good. The problem is it looks like a shiny, glossy metal. Yeah, so what I think I'm going to do is, without priming this and leaving that the way it is, I'm just going to shoot this steel deck on. I'm assuming it was kind of a dark color. The deck was probably like a flat black, dirty, you know, once metal, a steel metal color, right? Once everything was stripped off. And I don't really want it that dark in there. And I don't, you know, it makes sense that some things were white. So I'm probably going to shoot this. I'm still thinking on it for a second here. But I just wanted to have that quick discussion on how we've arrived at, yeah, this position. All right, let me decide what to do here. We'll get back to painting. Okay, so I went ahead and sprayed the AK steel color onto the deck of the ship. And first I was a little concerned that it wasn't going to look like steel. It's a little blotchy in some spots. But generally speaking, yeah, it looks like steel. The AK metal paints are absolutely outstanding, especially on a smaller scale. And had I done a slightly better job, probably would have looked even more like steel. But I think this looks like a steel deck. Absolutely not going to leave it this way. This would be like a brand new pristine steel deck. I think that the deck would have turned almost a black color, given it some time. So I'm experimenting. Basically, what we have here is some flat black paint in my airbrush. This is obviously too bright, and I'm gonna go ahead and just mist this on here and start darkening this whole thing up. Because yes, it's steel, but there's, you know, and obviously Kenneth did his from the Norwegian model shop. If you haven't watched his channel, go over there and check out his Enterprise build. He did his in a gray color that looks really nice. And I almost did that, but then I saw that, well, technically it probably was not painted. And so I want to try and do something here that might be, someone's going to be anal and say it wasn't painted, and then a bunch of you are going to say it was painted, and whatever. I read a article, basically the book about the Enterprise the Navy had ordered. It was in 1942. They ordered all the paint removed from interior spaces because they'd had a few fires from some bombs that'd gone off, and the paint was extremely flammable, obviously in its liquid state, but painted on the walls, it was bad. And then they had another attack. Wow, this looks really good looking at it, and then looking through the camera it looks terrible. But they had another attack, and it was noted that the damage was way less severe than they anticipated it being, and they attributed that to the paint being removed from some of the interior spaces. It just, you know, there was a flash explosion, not good, and then that was it. You know, the fires were under control. So what I'm going to do here is continue to kind of, I'm already really happy from the top with how this is looking. Let me see, from the camera, man, it looks really blotchy. Let me change the camera angle here real quick. No, from on top it still looks blotchy, but back it up here a little bit. It's starting to look a lot better. So I think you can see what we could do here. We'll continue misting on this flat black. I'll put some panel line stuff in, and we'll start speckling it up. Maybe shoot some grays, do some chipping and splatting, and see if we can't get away from the regular steel into something that was a little bit more dirty and used. All right, I'll keep painting here and come back to you with with some progress. Okay, we are back. Lots of weathering has been taking place here. Basically, after I sprayed on the steel, that's this color, I came back and used a United States Navy ocean gray, and basically put in a lot of these splotchy patterns in between things. Then I came back with a light coat, I think it may be some black, and then some burnt steel, and then I took and did there's a lot of splits and splashes and dots. I took a couple different washes and split them up and hit them with a dry brush and a toothpick to splatter all over the place to get a lot of stains and nicks and everything like that. And then once I was done, I made some mistakes too, I had some trouble areas, but once I was finished, I hit everything with a clear acrylic flat. And the reason for that is I want to go ahead and put panel accent line down, and I like this, to me, a dark brown. I have black, but you'd be surprised what dark brown will do. But you can't apply this to a lacquer or enamel based paint, which is what we have going on here. So the acrylic's on top, and then it's dried, and then we'll apply this. So let's do a little bit of that. All right, our panel lines are basically right here, and we're just gonna use the capillary action of the finish and let it run through. It probably would have been better if I had used gloss. Whoops, spilled a little bit there, and that's okay. I like the stain effect. It's running out anyway, and we're just gonna go along here, and I'm looking on the camera. I guess it looks pretty dark, but you can tell here in real life that it's brown. not black. And I try to not use black for things that you would think should just be black. Black is all colors, right? It's all colors absorbed of lights basically being absorbed all in the one spot. It's probably a terrible explanation, and then you get black, right? But if you look at like a car that's black, you'll see the reflections of all the other colors around it bouncing off of it, and you just get this really, really great effect. And so this dark brown can really add to things that are going on here. Now obviously, a little bit of a mess here, but we'll let that dry and see how it goes. And I'll do a little bit better job here and try and be a little bit more careful as we move along up here, so that you guys could see a little bit less of a mess. I just want to fill in these lines. There's a great grid pattern here, right? And it will help bring out a little bit of the floor and a couple of these little rivets. So anyway, I'm going to continue on doing that because as you can see, there's a lot of deck left here. This is a very, I don't know how right this look is. I like it though. It's visually very stimulating, and although you're probably not going to see it much when it's done, I think it'll work. And if I've screwed up by doing this, it's not the end of the world. It won't be too hard to come back and just paint over it like a solid light gray or something if I've decided I've made a horrible mistake. But for now, we're going to go with it. So let me go ahead and kind of wrap up using our panel line accent color here, brown, and knock that out. All right, press it on. Okay, so that's probably enough for now. Let's see how much trouble I caused here with the tape. Oh, good. Yeah. Fantastic. That tape's been on there for a while, and I didn't do a very good job of cleaning before I did that painting. So, guess that means you get to touch up some of the floor here, right? Look at that. What a mess. All right, so this can happen. Not the end of the world. I'm going to let all this dry for a while, and I'll touch all this up. Otherwise, our masking tape's fine. Our edge looks good. Over here, everything's, kind of the way that it should be. So I'll take care of fixing this, and then we need to start working on the walls. I actually think I'm going to go out of order, and there's a big thing that goes here, and I'm going to figure out what that part is and what the photo etch is and get into position, and we'll kind of use it as like a reference point for our height here and then our height here, so we can keep the deck the way that it needs to be. And then each of these sections of walls, they're neat. They're just like a little individual photo etch project, basically. We'll do one at a time. So anyway, other than my screwed up masking job, that's going to be our steel deck. That's supposed to be the paint removed, dirty, used, rolling airplanes around, engine grease, oil, brake dust, dirt, bits of junk. That's what we're going for right there, and honestly, I think it looks pretty good. So we're gonna leave that right now. All right, press it on. Okay, we are back in action with stuff. This is that big section that I said we were going to work on, and I do apologize. There's not a lot of too much exciting things happening straight away on this, but that's just kind of the way it is. But there is some things worth noting. I've got all my little pieces cut out here, and for the first time, Pontos didn't have any interior detail stuff for this, but KA did. We're going to be assembling It's actually a rather complicated set of like a, it's not stairs, but like a walkway basically. If for something that's barely going to show up, they've got a lot going on there. And then we've got, it gets assembled, dropped in here, and you get a few ladders thrown into position. And then the rest of the stuff's basically just out of the kit. So nothing too crazy, but things to figure out and talk about. Now, I do want to talk about this piece because this is something that you can utilize or think about ahead of time for this kit, since there's quote-unquote fit issues, if you will. I dropped this part on, it just drops down like this, and it fit pretty good actually. So what I did though for prepping it on the back here is I took my knife and I ran just a little 45-degree bevel around all these edges, just so that it'll help drop down where it needs to go. And then here you'll see there are some sink marks. No big deal, except that one's a little bit low, but it's flush. But here you see I took out a big chunk of plastic, and I took another big chunk out right there. Those are also these sink marks that protrude out. They don't have to be pretty, they have to be gone. And if you don't take the time to clean up some of that stuff, because it's easy to look back here and say, like, I'm not going to monkey with any of this stuff, no one's going to see it, who cares? And then it won't go down for some reason. I don't know why. Well, these little things could get in your way. So just preemptively cleaning all this stuff up helps a lot. We also have to discuss paint. So again, technically everything would be steel if they removed it all, but I've seen photos and I've seen work where this is white, and in my mind these walls and this structure would be white, and I think it's going to stay that way. So I think we're going to end up painting it white. See this line right here? That is actually where that gangplank or gantry, the little ledge that we're going to build, goes. It doesn't sit down here. And then we've got a bunch of kit parts. We're just going to slap on some pieces here. I'm kind of, I want to get a video out, and I don't have a lot of time here. And this is something that's fairly easy. I say fairly easy to do. A lot of parts right here to make this up, to just put this all together. This could have probably just been a lot simpler, like you just fold this at 90 and you're good to go, but instead we've got we've got some activities. So that being said, let's start gluing up some parts. Alright, there's this wall that's going to get attached to the side, and it's got these lockers. I've already pre-cleaned all this up so that save some time. We'll just drop them on the position here. I don't know what color those lockers are. I would think that they would be the same color as the wall, but they also might be like a blue or something. You know how lockers are, they always come up with some clever color for them. Anyway, we'll drop those on, and then this ends up going on the side of the big piece. We've got a couple of little things we need to throw together first. I don't know what these pieces are. I'm assuming it's just details, though, that Trumpeter was going to have a hard time molding, although I think they could have molded that on. This is another locker trunk type of arrangement. Stick that on there. And then no idea what this shape is right here. But it's a shape, and it's there, and we're going to go ahead and we'll glue it on. There is a ladder that gets installed here. We'll use the, alright, and then we've got this little box here. It's probably just a control panel because I see like a wire type of thing running down. Anyway, sorry, what I was saying is there is a photo etch ladder there. We'll use the KA part for assembling that. And that's it. That concludes the big pieces here, except for this. This just goes on the side here. Move my glue. It's actually a really large piece. And, oh yeah, look, see? I got a booger on the back here. I was like, why won't that sit down? Trim that off. Alright, now it lays flat. So I'll glue this on, and then let's launch into the photo etch. Okay, so I've started throwing together this photo etch piece. And for those of you doing it, what you need to observe is that the little pieces are at a diagonal, so make sure you get the slant going the right way. Then what I did is I very carefully got the first one installed in straight, and then you're able to just drop the next one down like this. Get a little pin needle with a drop of CA glue and put in the corner. Take a second to adjust your pieces so that they're perpendicular to each other, you know, the little X, and then you're just going to go ahead and press along this whole long thing right here until it's all done, and then we'll go ahead and do the next stage. But I thought I'd point out that just got to make sure you get that right, and this is how I'm doing it, because otherwise it could be really fiddly. All right, pressing on. All right, here we are back at our photo etch bender. This is all done, right? And I didn't realize this is actually a really nice detail. So this is the floor piece, and it has sides. Basically, I'm impressed with how detailed this is for something that is going to be of low visibility, right? I mean, we're going to see it, you're going to see it, we'll know it's there. But when the whole kit's done, I don't know how well it's all going to show up. But we'll just make sure, and that actually went really well there, so let's go ahead and get our corners. Let me spin this around. All right. Our last little corner. Both of these ends here got to get flipped up. I like to do this just to support the piece. All right. It's going to help make it more rigid right there, right? Isn't that nice? All right, last bend here. Okay. So there's our part. That's cool. Now all we gotta do is drop this into there, right? And dab some glue into position for these little spots, and then that part will be set, and we'll have to just worry about the railing. So yeah, you saw what I did there. We'll just poke it down and put some glue in, and then yeah, press on. Okay, so here's that piece, right, glued up. It's nice, and now I see why it's a little bit more complicated. So anyway, complicated. Earlier I was thinking like you could just have a flat piece, put a 90 on it, right, with the photo etch railing, and be done. But this is actually like a really nice piece. The drawback to it is we have to attach the railing to the face right here. So the railing has 1, 2, 3, 4 rails on it, but if you look at the photographs, only 3 are visible. So a couple of choices. You can just very carefully set it on the top edge right here, or what I'm going to attempt to do instead is place it like this, with the bottom edge on the face of the metal right here. And we're going to need, so I'm having trouble holding this, so we need to do things to help hold it. So let me get a little tack. Okay, and by tack I mean silly putty. So the sometimes when you're looking at this photo etch railing, there's a thicker piece, and then there's the other parts that are thinner, and the thicker piece would go on the bottom. So it would be cool to glue it like right to that face, right? So what we're gonna do is take a little piece of tape, just kind of get it attached at the bottom here. I don't even know if this has enough tack to it because it's already been sitting out. We'll get another one, put it in the middle here, just kind of like so, and engage in this precarious operation. Move this glue. So I just want the bottom edge on the face of the metal right here. So let's just get it up here. All the way to the edge. Actually, I'm doing this wrong. What I'm going to do is stick this tape to the railing, right? Grab this whole thing and put it in position. I want it to go right there. That looks good. Alright, grab the rest of this, throw it up on top. That looks good. Stick the tape down. And then you can see here, this bottom edge is on the face of the gangway, but it's below the surface, right? And I'll take one more piece of tape, stick it. Okay, now all we gotta do is put glue right on this edge right there, and it's gonna dry up, and then you'll have your piece. That's how we do that. I apologize if anything was out of the shot here. I was trying to use my hands and everything, but that's the idea, right? So, pressing on. Okay, it's glued. I used thin CA glue on a needle. Just dropped it along there and pulled off the tape, and then that's it. And it's got this nice detail on the bottom here. That's very impressive. Kay did a really nice job with that. So the next thing we gotta do is figure out where and how it goes on our big piece. Okay, here's our big piece. It goes here. Notice I don't have it set like this. I have it set this way. Why? Because gravity goes down, and this is gonna sit on this surface here. And so, in theory, if it fits, I'll place it right there. Oh yeah. So it wants to tip over on me and everything, but that's fine. This is how, let's see. Whoop, trying to get stuck. So it goes somewhere in there like that, right? Like that. Looks good. So, let me double check the instructions here real quick. Okay. Yes, it definitely goes right here, and the railing is supposed to be flush with like the top here. So, how do you glue it into position? I mean, actually, I've got it in position right there with my thumb. I should just get a little bit of thicker CA glue on my finger. Or you use some of that E6000 stuff. So you got a little bit of working time. It's super tacky. Put a couple dots on the back, and you'll be good to go. So let's see here. I have no glue prepared. Alright, I threw some medium CA glue down here. I've got my needle. I'm going to just tip this thing forward. And try and spot it into place as if I was spot welding this whole thing, and then go back and double check my positioning. I'm pretty happy with that, actually. I'll go ahead and get the corner. We just need it to stay in place, right? Long enough that you can reposition your fingers and everything, and you know, apply the glue the way you really want to. Okay. It's pretty even. Tacked into position. So, put a little more thicker CA glue up here. Alright. Okay. So we're just going to continue along like that, and then, yeah, your piece will be in. Alright, pressing on. Okay, real quick here, while I'm putting the ladders on, one goes right here, and this rail is too thick to allow the KA ladder to fit where it needs to. So I've cut a little bit of a notch right there for it. And that way, when you put the ladder in a position, it fits, but we're not losing that line right there. going through. So anyway, that was a little kind of a gotcha, so I thought I'd share that real quick. Otherwise, that's it. I've got the one other ladder installed down here. The kit plastic parts are on. We need to get it primed. I'm going to prime it in Tamiya white, and yeah, then get back to you and go from there. Pressing on. All right, folks, we are back. Here is our part. So I primed it with Tamiya white, and then I did something a little uncouth. I just said, I'm going to go ahead and paint this white with Tamiya flat white, which is an acrylic paint. It's kind of important. And some of you might be like, why did you paint it white? And it looks all white. I think that the inside walls, I looked at a lot of photographs, I think they were white. I don't know that all of the walls were stripped. I think it would get incredibly dark in there. You need to see what you're doing. We got to start somewhere. I'm going to start with this because I'm happy with the landing gear, I'm happy with the floor in the hangar bay, and I want to leave that and kind of, I guess I'm just going to go this route. Now, let's talk about this piece for a minute here. You have these 3 cutouts. I believe, but I couldn't find any pictures that confirm this because the one that I saw, there was like an airplane wing in the way. I think these are passageways. I think this is supposed to just be, they're not doors, they're passageways that go back into a hallway. So for now, I'm going to leave them. We'll give it a little wash, and maybe I'll just end up painting them black. But I may also end up cutting them out and putting like some fake walls in there so that you could, at an angle, I think you might be able to view this thing from like here, that you could see that it goes back. For the time being though, and because I am running out of time, we need to wrap this up, or at least a little bit. And so I'm going to start with, we're going to do some washes. And I have a lot of washes over here. I'm going to start with this gray liner non-spilling wash. This is from Life Color. And I'm going to start with gray. Basically, the only color I'm not going to use is black. I'm not okay with black. We'll start in the corner here. Oh, and this is not, there we go. I see these are gonna have to be thinned quite a bit if I want to push it around. It's not really running, and that may have to do with the fact that this is a flat color here. So I just hit this with some alcohol to kind of clean that up a little bit. Let's try down in here. It's going on more like paint. I'm doing this to share that this is kind of the difference. All right, and then I'm gonna hit this with some alcohol. Move that around. Yeah, it might be too much. I might want a little bit more runny. Let's see here. Smudge that around a little bit. Because I don't want a pure white. I think Kenneth did a lighter gray. I can't tell. Kenneth from the Norwegian modeling bench did like a light gray, and it looks excuse me, really sharp. But I had the white. I was sitting right there. I'm like, well, I'm gonna try this. All right. So I have a separate brush with rubbing alcohol on it. And it's moving this stuff around nicely. Get some grime. There we go. So now it's starting to work out nice here. Let me get reset here for a second. Okay, we're back here. I had to change the battery in the camera. It was running low. So we'll do a little here. This in these corners. I don't like how, so on one hand I like how thick this is. I'm wondering if it would behave differently if I had done this over a gloss surface instead of a flat white. But I do like that we're getting a subtle, dirty, grungy look right there, right? It's not cleaned up all perfectly. I have AK washes. We'll probably bust those out. They're like way more thinner than they are the pigment, I feel like. I am kind of liking that I can work this around. But you see that I'm working this around. So this is a little bit of a review of the Life Color pigments here. I do like that subtle kind of dark right in there. Right, a little bit of grunginess. Happy with how that's starting to look. Let's switch here. All right, let's try this Vallejo armor, gray armor. I'm gonna go over here to these lockers. It says gray. It's really kind of a blue tint, but I like that. We don't want. I don't want just black, right? All right, same thing. Use a little rubbing, same brush, a little rubbing alcohol. Work that around. Alright, and then we've got this lip up here. All my reference photos show, I might just leave that, just like that upper one. All my reference photos show a tremendous amount of grime on every single corner of the inside of the ship. Like there isn't an unaccented line, if that makes any sense what I'm trying to say there. Like there's dirt everywhere, and that's got to have to do with the fact that, well, I served in the military, and even though I was in the Air Force and we had a very clean ish work environment, I guess we'll call it, it wasn't clean, right? I mean, it smelled like grease. It smelled like dirt, and it was grimy. It wasn't as bad as like a mechanic shop or anything like that. No, actually, it was. Airplanes and military vehicles all smell the same. They smell like steel, and they smell like grease. I feel like when I go visit a ship, and I wasn't in the Navy, but when I go to a ship museum, like out in San Diego or something like that, there's a distinct odor in the air, and I'm taken right back to being a young airman, the first time I walked out in the flight line, the first time I went on board any of the aircraft that we have here in the U.S., and it was just, hydraulic fluid, Jet A, and grease. That's basically what I smelled all the time, everywhere I went. Again, here with this one, I don't know if this door right here, is this a hallway? I'm not really sure, and I don't know that we'll really see it. We'll just kind of glop this on like that instead. So anyway, yeah, my point is everything is going to need to be accented here, and we're going to have to get some grime on everything. You pull airplanes in. These are piston engines. I doubt any of them were running, but we have learned that one of the buildings in the back of the hangar, on the back of the ship, is a test stand for the engines, and the idea was to get the noise and the exhaust out of the hangar bay, or try to a little bit. I guess a lot of that depended on which way the wind was blowing that day. But by nature, I mean, there was fires on the Enterprise by this point. There were bombs that exploded by this point, and those leave a certain amount of dirt and junk all over the place, and there's nothing you could do about that. So that's just one color. That's our Gray Armor by Vallejo. Let's pull out something else here. Alright, let's switch over here to AK products now, landing gear dust. Now, in my experience, this stuff is extraordinarily thin and runny. And it's traditionally behaved differently. It's a lot lighter, and yeah, I think my flat white is grabbing, and if this was glossy it would move around a little bit more. Let's go over to this door that we did in the blue. Let's add some grime to that, different color. I want to chip up these doors a little bit. Just get a little bit on here, and like this, that's a good start. So then we have this hole, this we're gonna do kind of like a wash here. I'm just gonna, all right, a little bit of alcohol on the cotton swab. The other thing about the military is, on the flight line anyway, things, or in the hangar, the hydraulic fluid and some of the grease, definitely the exhaust, always kind of sticky and in the air a little bit, and you would always kind of be just covered in a grimy, sweaty mess of stuff. Definitely needed to take a shower at the end of the day. So to just kind of have stuff innately stuck to the surface, I don't think is bad. Alright, now we're going to bust out some AK landing gear wash. I just want you to see how super dark this is, and we're going to use this for the inside of our doors here. That, like I said, I might revisit down the road. And this is a lot more runny. I'm going to fill this all in. There we go. Like that. Okay. So just that few minutes there has really kind of gone ahead and change the look of things, right? And again, this is not black, although it is dark. Go ahead and get a little bit up in here. We've got this line. Alright, so yeah, now this is starting to look pretty good. And I don't know what this little area is back here. I think it's just a, I don't want to call it a cubby, but it's cubby, right? I've got some plans for the ship. I need to pull them out, and not for the Enterprise, but for the Yorktown class carriers. I'm not sure if it shows the inside stuff or not. If it does, we might be able to up our game a little bit here, at least on what I'm talking about. Okay. I think that is a good start. I think there's going to be an evolution in the weathering process here as we press on. But let's go ahead and throw this up on the ship and wrap this up. Okay, so here is our little ship with our deck And then here is that section just thrown up on there. Pan to the back here a little bit. And we'll go back. I'm happy with how this has turned out. I think we'll definitely do some more grime, but I think this is a good start to like just doing white and changing everything over, and it looks good. So the only other kind of improvement I want to make to what we're looking at here is the deck currently is flat. That's got a flat finish. I'd like a semi-gloss. Let me change the angle. Let's look at it from down here. I'd like a semi-gloss finish. Steel is sort of shiny. So I could get some semi-gloss, decant it, and spray it on. I could mask all this off and just, dust it. I could take some light. I don't know. Can I mix? I don't know. We're not done yet with this. I think we want to put a little bit of a sheen on the deck. I think that will add some additional realism. So this is where we are at so far. Good progress. And this is not glued in yet. What I like about this, and for fit, it fits snug and tight. It's open to the back right now, and what this means is I can make sure that it is snug up against the spot where it's supposed to fit before I glue it into position, and that's going to be important so that we don't have any fit issues later on. I believe in trumpeters engineering. That doesn't always mean the molds turned out perfectly, but when you design stuff, no one intentionally says, "Oh, I'm going to make this so it doesn't fit together." For whatever reason, things are just a little difficult, I guess, with this one. So far, I haven't had any trouble, but this is going to help ensure that it goes together the way that we want it to. So that's it for now. Sorry it's been so long since I could get a video out. I hope you found at least something here informative. Don't forget to like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.